You're listening to the European Grand Prix podcast on Formula1 FanCast. To keep up to date with latest Formula 1 news, visit www.formula1fancast.com and you can follow us on Twitter at Formula1 FanCast.
Well, this year's European Grand Prix will not go down as a classic, but there were still plenty of talking points to come out the weekend. It was another weekend where Sebastian Vettel ended qualifying and the race as a top dog. Ferrari's Fernando Alonso put in a solid performance to finish second, and Mark Webber came home in third. But before we do look back on the race in Valencia, just a heads up on how you can get involved with our next podcast on Formula 1 FanCast. So next week we'll be looking ahead to the much awaited British Grand Prix, and we'd like you to tell us your favourite British Grand Prix of all time and thoughts on the new Silverstone wing. You can get in touch with us through Twitter at Formula 1 FanCast or at Baggies20. Here with me now to review the European Grand Prix, Paul Hadsley. Paul, no stopping Sebastian Vettel, is there?
No, we want someone to. It would be nice if someone did. But another stunning display of dominance, as I believe everyone's used the D word many, many times over the weekend. But what can you do to stop him? He's obviously got the best car, the best tyres, he's the best driver. At least sometimes the battle for second is exciting. We say that last weekend. But yeah, Vettel is gone. Give him the championship now. Let him sit home every Sunday, and then maybe we'll have an exciting race for the lead. But apart from that, yeah, he can't take anything away from him. He's doing so much good work. He's probably earned it. And
Vettel, obviously, I think he's what, 2-3 race winners clear of his next competitor,
something like that.
Standing.
Yeah, he is gone. As I say, give him the cup now, and we'll have some excitement in the sport. But no, that's not how it works. Sadly, you never know what may happen with the ban on the blown diffuser. Everyone's sort of hoping, crossing their fingers, that will drag him slightly back into sort of visual range. You don't know for definite, but it's not gonna hurt. It's not gonna help him anyway. Hopefully, we'll have slightly more competitive British Grand Prix. I've heard tyre change is going to suit McLaren more, and blah blah blah. Tyre compound, shall I say? So hopefully, the next race should be slightly more competitive than that. And I blame a lot of that on the track.
And despite Valencia is supposed to be one of Red Bull's weakest tracks, Vettel put in the laps when it mattered, both in qualifying and in the race.
Yes, I mean, it's king of Saturday. I think Valencia is one of Formula 1's weakest tracks now, actually. I'd sort of move over Hungary. Formula 1's got a new worst track, and it's Valencia. Because things that have happened over the years, it's just all we can think of is Webber flew last year, and that's about it. And I had some great memories of Kobayashi doing some overtaking last year, only on feed that I remember watching. But yeah, it's just that he's king of Saturday, Vettel. He's also mostly king of Sundays, but you might as well just not do qualifying, at least quali 3. Just see which team loses out in quali 1, and then it's the way around, isn't it? It's quali 3, 2, 1. But yeah, but see what lower league team look out, what team accidentally doesn't make the top 10, and then just give the pole position to Vettel again. It's so predictable.
You just mentioned Valencia being one of the worst tracks. Would you consider taking it off the calendar?
I would. I mean, just because it's never threatened, because it's got the money behind it. All the favourite tracks like Spa always have issues. I mean, we had championships a couple of years. Was it 2003, 2005? We had a season without Spa. It seems to be like a season without Spa. It's not a proper season at all. But the best tracks, like Canada as well, I think we nearly lost that one year. The best tracks we seem to lose, and seem to have some sort of legal ramifications over fighting with Bernie at least. Sadly, Valencia have got the money behind them, and all the Bahrains and the Abu Dhabis of the world, they are not threatened in the way that the classic tracks are. But yeah, it's not the greatest track. I watched all the sport races this weekend for one of the first times this year. GP3 was actually quite good in their low power cars. They could overtake around the outside, down the inside. That was great. GP2 struggled. A good race, but not the greatest. And then as soon as you got up to Formula 1 power, you might as well forget it. It's not a track that's not suited to Formula 1 cars, and you can say change the cars or change the track, but it's not the greatest track either to drive. Drivers don't rave about it, so it's not the highlight of the year by any means.
Well, coming on to Mark Webber, he put in a decent lap in qualifying to qualify second, and it wasn't a perfect end to the race on Sunday for Red Bull, as Webber finished the race third, but you still feel that Webber needs that race win, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. As I say, that if the way Sebastian's dominating, that number 2 car should be right alongside him, finishing second. They should both be about a second class faster than everyone else. Yes, Sebastian is. I keep wanting to say Sebas. Yes, Sebas is. But I'm used to Sebastian's dominating. I came through Champ Car, so it's a Sebas thing. But yeah, number 2 should be there right behind him, finishing second and then picking up the pieces whenever he makes a mistake. It should have been Webber hassling Sebastian into a mistake in Canada.
Home favourite Fernando Alonso came home second on Sunday after an intriguing battle with Mark Webber. The Spaniard was able to get past Webber in the final pit stop phase, and Ferrari and Alonso are certainly going in the right direction, aren't they?
Yeah, but again, that's a tyres thing apparently. They suited the medium tyre that they brought to Valencia more than McLaren did. They've already been on record saying please keep it that way, and Pirelli already on record saying we don't favour one team over the other. As dominant as Red Bull are, the second team keeps changing. That just exasperates their, I can't say the word, it makes it highlights their dominance, because like this number 2 team isn't always the same. So one race you'll have Fernando Alonso finishing second, the next race you'll have Lewis Hamilton, Jenson Button finishing second, and that just, overall, there's the gap to second place is increasing because they just keep switching. But it is what it is, and it also means that at each race there is someone at least pressuring. The team might not stay the same. Heck, it might be Mercedes if they get their act together. They're always pressuring Red Bull, if not winning. At least there's that to look forward to, but just needed a consistent second team just to try and grab whatever falls off the back of the Red Bull lorry.
And surprisingly, it was Ferrari who were Red Bull's main competitors.
Yeah, I know. I mean, what would you think about, you put all your money on McLaren, like, moving forwards, and maybe even giving them something, after first 3 races, McLaren might have something for them in qualifying. That's how naive we were. But, after Monaco, seeing McLaren have stepped back, but will that be a tyre thing again? Will they be back on song in of all places, Silverstone? We wait and see. It remains to be seen. But yeah, as I say, it's nice to see that someone's pressuring them, and of course Alonso's going to be G'd up for his home races, if anything else.
As for Felipe Massa, the Brazilian finished Sunday's race 5th behind Lewis Hamilton. Massa once again made a flying start to the race, and had he got past Webber, it would have been interesting to see where Massa ended up at the end of the race. Yeah, it
would have, actually. He would have been a bit of a cork in the bottle, I think. He would have been holding Webber up for Alonso to try and get by, which they tried after the final round of pit stops, or one of the round of pit stops. Yeah, that would have been Ferrari tactics, I think. Maybe Massa was given the different tyres, blah blah blah. They're always rolling the dice. You got to in this situation, do what you can. But yeah, I mean, it would have been good to see Massa up in second. You need another driver you want a feel good result for. It was a great start. He just zoomed past Hamilton. He didn't know where Hamilton didn't happen, and he's so close to hassling down the inside of Webber. If he'd settled and didn't try that, then he would have probably finished. Got through the corner ahead of Alonso, but Alonso sneakily, a bit like Lewis Hamilton's first race in the McLaren, he learnt from that and sneaked around the outside and got them both. So yeah, a great start for Massa. Sadly, the end of the race wasn't quite such an excellent start. Sort of tapered out towards the end, but you don't see feel good results people like Massa. So ever since the accident, people are like, oh, is his accident? Is he all right? Is he still the driver he was? And I think give him a car and give him equal billing, and maybe he's in the wrong team for that, he could be up there again. It's just at the minute Ferrari is so focused on Fernando, and that's just the Ferrari way.
Well, it hasn't exactly been a spectacular start to the season for Massa, but it's been a good start nonetheless, hasn't it?
I would say we just want him to get up there. He could have won Hockenheim last year. People forget that if it weren't for the team orders. He was the one that was dominating that race, and then Ferrari made him move over for Alonso. But he has, on his day, usually it's in Turkey. On his day, he is quite dominant, but it's just those days are few and far between these days, sadly. But I say it's just all picking up the Red Bull crumbs, so we can see if he can get a few himself.
It was a difficult weekend for McLaren as Lewis Hamilton finished 4th and Jenson Button finished 6th for Paul. Not the best of weekends for the team, even though both the drivers picked up points.
Yeah, and at least Hamilton finished, and without having to visit the steward's office too much. But yeah, it was just. You think McLaren, in 2009, when they didn't have the best car, they still developed from the start of the season to the end into it being a race winner, win a couple of races towards the end of the season. But you'd hope that this year it's sort of going the opposite. Is it tyre related that they started, well, in the pre-season we thought, whoa, what's going on with them? They're really bad. And then they got to Australia and it's like, oh, they're not winning, but they're not as bad as we thought. They're the second team. Thought Mercedes and Ferrari would be ahead of them when we went to Australia. So we thought, oh, maybe they do have a chance. If they keep pushing development, then then they did get some wins, obviously. The last race doesn't really count because a wet race is a wet race. But in China, everyone forget they used strategy and they used tyres and they hounded Sebastian, passed him on track. Well, Hamilton passed him on track and won the race. Everyone's thinking, yeah, this is much better. We have a fight on our hands. And ever since then, it's kind of been a step backwards. Yes, they got a great win in the rain, Canada, which was great to see, but again, more rain afflicted. But it's all to do with tyres and aerodynamic grip versus mechanical grip. And you saw in Monaco that, Jenson probably had the fastest car. It's just he couldn't do anything with it. The fact he had 2 other cars ahead of him. Let's hope that their legendary development race will mean that they will continue closing the gap to Red Bull. Hopefully the tyres will be more to their liking in Silverstone with the compounds that Pirelli are taking. And if you're a McLaren fan, you probably say after that performance you haven't got much to look forward to. But that was the one race. You can't really decide the whole season based on that one performance. Otherwise, after China, would have thought they'd be winning the championship. It's just one race, one bad race doesn't the whole bad season make. So hopefully they'll be, of all races they'll want to perform, that'll be Silverstone. So they'll probably push extra hard for this race, and we'll see what happens. Lewis didn't hardly go at the start. It's almost like he stalled. Massa was by, and it was almost like he was holding people up at the first corner. But as soon as he got through the first couple of corners, he was all right. He probably just needed a quieter race after the two slightly too exciting races in Monaco and Canada, where he's slightly in trouble a bit much. He got through the race at his team a bit, and they shouted at him like it was a bit confusing at one stage. Go slower, no, go quicker, and they were like, I'm going the fast as I can, I'm going as slow as I can. It was confusing what they wanted from him at different stages of the race. I would be confused. I don't blame him. What can you say? It's not the sort of performance that he's there for, finishing a mid top 10, and Button after the win in Canada back down to earth. But this is Formula 1, highs and lows. If we didn't taste the lows, the highs wouldn't feel as good.
And I suppose 4th and 6th was the best result McLaren could have wished for.
Maybe you could argue maybe they could have. No, I think you're right. Actually, yeah, there's this 4th and 6th, there's Mercedes in the way, I suppose. But yeah, they got held up by the Mercedes at the start of the race. We were just rubbish at the start of the race from Monaco onwards, just being holding people up. But Button got past him quite easily, not using DRS, and then there was a great little overtaking manoeuvre. Yes, there was one at least.
Well, like you said, Jensen was certainly brought back down to earth. If he wants to be in contention to win races regularly, then, like Eddie Jordan said, his qualifying has to improve, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know. And he, as I've said many a time on the podcast, he is also the master of the alternate strategy. So whether he needs to put himself in this place because his qualifying is not as good as everyone else's and needs to do something different, or it's just something he wants to do anyway. There seems to be that the field will all follow each other like sheep in what they think is the best strategy, and then Jensen will go, right, I'm doing the opposite. And sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. It didn't seem to really pay off this weekend. It did pay off a couple of races when he's been second and hounding the leaders, like in Monaco.
And both Jensen and Lewis, for sure, will want to bounce back in Silverstone and gives the British fans something to cheer about. Yeah,
someone like Jensen's never been on the podium in Britain, which is weird because he's had competitive cars over his time. You think, sure, the Brawn year, I can't remember what happened that year, but you thought, how did he not get on the podium? Jensen Button has not been on the podium in Britain. It's something he's desperate to prove this weekend, and surely the middle step is out of reach of the podium. But maybe the other two steps might be Hamilton and Button. And I'm sure everyone's hoping that the ban on the blown diffuser, is going to change things, but maybe not. So I still see Vettel winning because he did win there. Well, he's won there a few times, but I maybe. But whoever goes well at Silverstone too, I'm just thinking about going through the field now. So maybe there will be a 1-2 finally, but there's still one step of the podium open, and I'm sure Jensen will be trying his hardest to get there.